My name is Father Thomas Nike, and I'm currently serving at St. Anthony of Padua Parish in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Today I'm going to talk about how evil spirits get power over us. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus came to Capernaum with his followers, and on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Quiet, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud voice came out of him. All were amazed and asked one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord. So in today's gospel, Jesus rebukes the unclean spirit, saying, "Quiet, come out of him," and the demon is cast out of the demoniac, or another name for someone possessed is an energumen. Indeed, there are over 20 Bible verses where Jesus cast out demons. So it's possible to become possessed by demons. There might be more cases of possession or obsession or oppression at this time in the history of the church than in any other time. So today I want to talk about some of the reasons people become possessed. The most fundamental reason is mortal sin. The more perverted and graver the sin, the more likely one could get possessed. As early as 416, Pope Innocent I taught that a baptized person could become possessed as a result of vice or sin. Indeed, renowned exorcist Father Chad Ripperger teaches that the proper effect of every mortal sin is possession, although God almost always blocks it. St. Alphonsus Liguori says that through the very door by which God leads the soul, the devil enters. Father Antonio Fortea says that one of the reasons that God allows diabolic possession is to punish the sinner who seeks a relationship with evil. That's why if you've committed a mortal sin, you should always go to confession immediately. Until you do, you belong to Satan and he has power over you. When you go to confession, you break that bond with Satan. You're back in union with God and under his protection again. Another common way that people become possessed is when they experience a major trauma, especially rape or sexual abuse. And this can cause negative emotions and anger. Exorcist Father Carlos Martin says that trauma can lead to losing faith in the goodness of God and the world he created. It can leave a wound, and that wound can shake us in the goodness of reality. Father Gary Thomas says that 80% of the people who come to him are victims of abuse. Father Chad Ripperger says that vices contrary to nature, like homosexuality, is a gateway for a diabolic influence, but he also links the inclination to trauma. He says that some sort of trauma causes 99% of same-sex attraction. In fact, if a certain demon is present, the exorcist knows that there's some homosexual behavior in the life of the demoniac. The demon for same-sex attraction in men is Asmodeus, whereas for women there are two, Lilith and Leviathan. Finally, ex-Satanist Deborah Lipsky says the quickest way a demon gains entrance is through occult activity of any type. During Father Gary Thomas's training, he learned that most possessed people had either been involved in the occult or were victims of a curse. In our time, dabbling in the occult is the most common way a person gets possessed, and the general public has become fascinated with the occult. There's been an explosion in membership of new religions such as Wicca, whose numbers have been estimated to have exploded over 100 times in just 16 years, from 8,000 to over 800,000 members. And if you practice Wicca long enough, you're going to have extraordinary activity of the devil. Father Gabriel Amorth was a chief exorcist in Rome for over 30 years, and before he passed away in 2016, he said that in the past 15 years, we have witnessed an increase, almost an explosion of occult and satanic associations. So what are occult activities? Father Amos says that, quotes, "The most significant forms of occultism are magic, astrology, fortune-telling, and/or spiritism. At its base is the belief in the existence of spiritual forces that cannot be experienced through one's external senses. Therefore, they are esoteric or hidden. By controlling these forces through techniques into which one is initiated, and after practicing them appropriately, one can dominate the reality. These entities are the unclean spirits commonly called devils. The reality is more complex, however, because the occultists, in order to enjoy their powers, end up with putting themselves at the service of the superior hierarchies. After all, the leader of the sects into which they enter is Satan himself, who asks a very high price of those he serves. In other words, the demons seemingly can give you power, riches, and they can give you power and riches or success at first, but by entering into this relationship, you have given them certain rights over your soul. And speaking of rights, the most direct way, probably the easiest way, and the most certain way to become possessed is to dedicate one's soul or that of a family member to whom you have authority over, to Satan. God will honor your request to your future dismay. Last thing I want to talk about is the everyday influence of Satan. Any type of negative emotions give Satan power. Anger, critical thinking, a pessimistic attitude, anxiety, depression, sadness, envy. Of course, any kind of evil that is sin is the most powerful attraction. Conversely, a joyful, loving disposition repels demons. God is love, so demons can't stand to be around someone who's like God. Jesus himself teaches us the most basic deterrent to any extraordinary activity of the devil. He teaches us, love one another as I have loved you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.